how was your holiday trip? Skiing?
My holiday trip, well, thank God, no brain damage, no body damage. Well, not entirely.
The brain damage was already there, right?
Yeah. So Cern Basher commented on my post because the day of my return, I decided to post something on X to track my whole travel back home and the supercharging and stuff like that. And Cern responded to it, 3 adults? And what about the mental capacities of these 3 adults? So I responded, well, the 3 of us combined are like one functional human being. So that was a summary of my holiday.
Yeah, we were very concerned because every time we let you go, this stuff derails. So happy to have you back.
I'm
and
alive.
you, how was your trip?
Yeah, good.
Good.
Yeah,
That's
relaxed.
That's it.
Yeah, good.
That's it. Tell me highlight.
Did a bit of hiking, good food, so good drinks.
Typical Deloitte holiday. Yeah.
I actually worked on my holiday quite a bit. So
very good. Very good.
Very much.
No, just kidding. Good to have everybody
I've
in the
been
room.
talking with you on holiday almost every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People called me and they were like, "Are you on holiday or like workation?" I was like, something in between. No, but it was good. Yeah, very relaxed.
It's good to be back again, also with the 4 of us. I missed it, to be honest. But let's kick off this episode with a really funny clip on Saturday Night Live, SNL. I'm going to put it on screen right now. So,
I actually haven't seen it before. It's the first time I see it. But I've seen like people talking about it.
Yeah. It's a great video. So having Zelensky sitting next to it, and it's of course wild times that we entered.
Enough to joke about. Yeah, definitely.
We can joke about it again. Oh, nice. That's good. So. Yeah, of course. Also in the Joe Rogan podcast, Elon was a bit more serious about the stuff they encountered. But it's definitely good to also appreciate the humor that comes around it. So,
who listened to the whole podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
the full 3 hours.
Yeah, full 3 hours.
Yeah. So, what are your takeaways?
I do have a bunch of takeaways. I actually was one of the first episodes I listened together with my girlfriend. We were in the car back from vacation. I was like, let's listen to Elon. She gets crazy about Elon because I talk too much about him. So I was like, let's get some long form in, Yeah. So I could hook her up for an hour. So it was good. I think in the Dutch media, there's a lot of, let's say, bad publicity and like very small, tiny pieces, And at the beginning, it's kind of wild. So it started wild and I was like, all right, in what kind of mood is Elon now? But ultimately, he was very, I think, relaxed and just explained like what happened. And
he was playing around with Grok, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In the first 30 minutes.
The Unhinged version.
Rock on Hinge.
Yeah,
well, did it really work?
Yeah, no, it didn't really work. And the conversation didn't get anywhere. So
no.
I wasn't hooked at the first. But I think on the Doge part, so... he was very sensible, So he just explained like what they're doing with Doge and what the goals are. And he explained more of the dynamics and what to expect, the difficulties they had. So we talked about it before the show as well. He just explained like putting people on certain places. So let's say FBI or the Fed or whatever, or now Doge is like getting a new captain on the ship and still having a hostile crew, So it that opened really not my eyes so much, but I think he explained it very well. And he explained like they would release some data on, for example, the Epstein files. Maybe you've seen it.
Yeah.
And it was really a dumper for a lot of people because they like nothing was in there. It's just his contacts list.
And it didn't get picked up by the media as well because, first of all, it's not that big of a deal because it was already known.
Yeah.
And Pamela Bondi or Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Yeah. She really thought this was newsworthy, but then she found out it's not that much. But apparently there's a whole bunch of other stuff coming out in the next week or so.
Yeah, well, let's see if that really happens, because I think on the first day, President Trump would also release the files about JFK. Didn't happen yet. So there are still a lot of unknowns. And he just shared more of the background on it. So I think that was eye-opening. So in my opinion, they're in the first innings of what they want to do and what they want to achieve. I think we're all, let's say, positive on some items, but for me, there are still a lot of question marks. I think in maybe a year, at least, we can say if things are improving or not. So that was one of my takeaways. I think what he explained as well is that he came across more as a human. I know we do and we see him, but people in the Netherlands or in mainstream media, you don't see that quite a lot. And he was like, yeah, we're not going to be perfect. I know we're going to make mistakes, but we have to change those mistakes. And then he just explained like what type of cost do we have as a country and why is that a problem? Because they were just spending too much. And
most of it is waste. Like he stated that it's fraud and waste.
Yes.
And he said, well, actually, most of it is actually just waste.
Yeah.
And you added something to your agenda as well, Florian, about the NGOs. That all those shell NGOs that got enacted, but there are like thousands of them, and 100 of them with hefty sums of money being deposited to it, and that's a big chunk of waste. He's
and also there he gave a perspective, right? So he said like some are really doing good things and some aren't, but it's sometimes really hard to see which ones aren't contributing and which are. So and he gave some perspective on that, but I think more importantly on that aspect, he said that he doesn't feel very safe anymore. So I think that's alarming.
Yep, really.
And the second thing is, he actually said like we're going in so hard that he might. This is the first time I have ever heard Elon saying I want to maybe
back off a bit.
Yeah, back off a bit. This is the first time I ever hear him back off on something.
That's telling.
That's telling.
Yeah, what I heard, he said a couple of things for the first time ever. So first of all, he even in times where he was very stressed out, he never said he was stressed out. So now he said, I'm stressed out. There are a lot of death threats on his way, and there are a lot of enemies, so coming from all different sides. So it can be foreign adversaries, but also internal enemies.
But also just plain lunatics.
Yeah, and plain lunatics that, the sheer amount of attention that he nowadays gets just opens up a whole new arena of lunatics that want to go after Elon. And I think that was his sense already because Elon stepped into the ring, so to say, when Trump got shot. Like 5 minutes after, he said, I fully 100% support Trump. Because at that moment, he probably already felt like I'm the sort of second on the list, right? Because with X, he was already there. So he was positive about what they found and the levels of sort of waste and corruption. And also the thought experiment, like on what point does incompetence become fraud, right? So if you put a sort of puppet on a position that is very critical, is that incompetence? Is it ideology, or is that blatantly fraud? And he also points out that how easy it is for foreign countries and for people in the US, especially during the COVID period, how much they could basically steal from the government because they were simply handing out the cash like it was nothing. So I heard he was very concerned, and I think because Joe also asked him like, you're now a couple of weeks in, did you expected this thing? And he's just, I think, baffled by the whole scale of this giant thing, because we're talking about a 10 trillion, basically a 10 trillion apparatus that is now being dismantled. And I've been thinking a lot about Donald Trump lately as well, because if you think about it, like the institutions are being influenced, the media is being influenced heavily, judges are being influenced. So basically, sort of that whole apparatus is sort of a closed fort. And it didn't matter if like a Republican become elected or a Democrat, because a bunch of same people. You also see that in Texas, that a bunch of Republicans.
The real power is still unaffected.
Same. Different shirt, same game. So it's Donald Trump is basically sort of glitch in that whole thing. He was able to attract enormous level of popularity, and also because of the other administrations were clearly super incompetent. Yeah. But it's almost like playing cards, and you feel like this whole game is in our pocket. And then the final move that the opposite party can do is throw the joker on the table, and that that joker, that's Trump, and that flipped that whole dynamic. And then, of course, now people are joining. So Elon is joining, and Tulsi Gabbard is joining, Kennedy is joining. So Elon also said in his cabinet, like, this is the strongest group of people that probably have ever governed a country. So yeah, I reiterated that in the last podcast, but I will do it again. This is probably the biggest thing that happened in maybe 500 years or longer.
Pivotal.
Because Elon says if the ship of America sinks, that's the reason why he is on board. He will, the whole world will have problems. So basically, America, the USA is one of the only places in the world where you have like free speech in the Constitution. If that doesn't happen, we are doomed to tyranny. Basically,
shall we put that clip on screen, because I have that clip on screen, please. So it's a good clip to watch.
Please, and after that, I have one more add-on.
Yeah, perfect. Let me make it big screen.
As the president said, like, there's a lot of rich people out there. They should be caring more about the country, because the reason they should be caring more about the country is if America falls, what do you think is going to happen to your business? Do you think you're going to be okay if the ship of America sinks? Of course not. What I'm doing here, what the president's doing, it's just long-term thinking. The ship of America must be strong. The ship of America cannot sink. If it sinks, we all sink with it. It's essential that America be healthy, that America's economy be strong. America is the central pillar holding up Western civilization. That pillar must be strong. If that pillar falls, the whole roof comes crashing down.
Including his
There's
ships.
no place to hide.
Including his ships.
There's no place to run.
Nothing. There's nothing left.
As the president said, like, there's a lot of rich people.
Including his ships. Does he mean the Starflight ships?
I think he probably wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah. So two things there. I think one is of course, this is sort of long-term thinking, but the war is not against the people. The war is against the bureaucracy, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
we're not fighting democracy, we're fighting bureaucracy. That's the whole thing.
He said that, it was very funny. He said, if you replace the word democracy, because all the threats are, it's a danger to democracy and it's a threat to democracy, what's happening right now.
Yeah.
If you change or swap democracy with bureaucracy, everything will make sense.
Yeah.
And that's he said that in the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. So that's the one of the key things to understand. Second thing to understand, and I think I understand the whole Tesla community, right? Because everybody's shareholder and everybody wants their shares to do well. I get that. I have a lot of shares too. So I want them to do well as well. So there is a lot of sentiment that says like Elon's involvement in politics is bad for the stock. While like in the past, this happened many times. It's not Elon's involvement, but it's the media coverage of Elon's involvement that is the toxic thing, right? So we have a 99.9% narrative that is now against every action. If Elon would say, go to whatever minority neighborhoods.
Watch your hand. Watch your hand.
Yeah. If
there's this
if he goes
low threshold.
if he goes to minority neighborhoods and just start giving money to the people or whatever, or to the border giving people money, none of that will matter. None of the action will matter because the incentive for the bureaucrats and sort of that machine is to take down Elon.
Yeah, to add to that, because he's saying that the US is the pillar of Western civilization, right? And it's the big ship that steers it forward. There's also multiple occasions when Elon said that he thinks about the Roman Empire every day. Mm-hmm. And that's really striking because what we're seeing right now is also the decline of a civilization. And that decline has actually been starting since the turning of the millennium, actually. Because all the time, the United States was a hegemony. So it's a hegemonic force. So they are the world global leader. And that's based on the political hegemony, judicial hegemony, and also like defense. Mm. And defense was actually the only thing that the US still had, because the technological advantage is in the hands of the Asian countries. A lot of production is also going to that part of the world. So the civilization was already in decline. So that Elon right now thinking about how the Roman civilization declined, also a good thing to note there is that the population decrease, so the population increase, that number that he's frequently talking about, that was at the basis of the demise or the decline of the Roman Empire. And he makes a big parallel to what's happening right now.
Yeah. So
what it actually follows is Ray Dalio's. I don't really like Ray Dalio so much, but he has like done quite some research on historical major powers in the world. So the Netherlands is one,
definitely
Romans
UK
are one, and they all have the same pattern, right? So they're first very innovative. They work hard, they earn a lot of money, and then they just pile on debt and they become bankrupt. That's basically what always happens. So I think they want to prevent the US from the same pathway here. So, but again, I think what is a little bit missing is I know they're from a structural part of the approach that they take. It for me as well. It feels kind of wild, left and right. Yeah,
it is wild.
But it's also a little bit acting, and maybe that's the only way to do it in a wild and hard way. And they only have 4 years, so I know there's a context there, but it feels a bit wild on some places. And I think what's missing now is really the end point. That's for me. So I know they're saying we're doing this is what we see, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
but not with logical. A clear strategy and a clear end goal.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there are some numbers in the air, but that's something that I think they should be more
focal. Definitely.
In this video, we also saw that point that Elon says we just apply long-term thinking here. Mm-hmm. Elon's biggest mission is to make life multiplanetary, to increase the odds for humanity to survive. Mm-hmm. And he is very, very afraid that the window of opportunity to get us to Mars is going to close. Mm-hmm. We have the technology ready. The bureaucracy was in its way, so he could not go to Mars with the current bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. But now they need to rally the country and the people behind this mission, because it will be a huge thing, right? It's basically the Ark of Noah going to Mars, trying to save our civilization. And Elon knows the history very well. So let's say 5,000 plus years ago, the pyramids were being built. And there was a period of thousands of years that we still could not achieve that
same level of
engineering. And if you want to, that comes down to the story of Milton Friedman with the pencil. You need so many things for a rocket ship to actually go. And we have a very small window of opportunity to actually make this happen. So that would be amazing if Trump can sort of take on that sort of talking point of Elon as one of the pillars that they want to achieve, let's say, in the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. For me, that was also eye-opening that we only need 30 years to get to Mars. So we need 15 Mars-Earth moments.
Would you go?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to be fit. That's why I'm going into ice baths, all those kind of things.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Longevity.
No, the first goal is actually going around the moon. But,
so you also want to go to Mars, maybe die on Mars, but not on impact, right?
Yeah.
Preferably not on impact, no.
Funny story. Yeah. Hey, but on the, I do want to challenge on the fact how Elon is perceived, because we follow him closely. We know he likes memes. He's just I think literally in one of the lawsuits, his lawyer said, it's a child with a phone, which he is, and he can be funny, and we know where he comes from, and that he just looks at life as also making fun and making jokes, etc. But also, I think perception is a reality for a lot of people, and he's always talking about, I want to do good. I'm not busy with the perception of doing good, you know. So we know that, and we follow him closely. But I think he could enhance also his image quite a bit if he would be more busy with his perception. So he goes on stage with a chainsaw and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm this meme, and I can laugh about it, and I understand how childish he can be, which is totally fine. But 99.9% of humanity just don't.
Yeah, but the thing is, 12 years ago, you remember the time when the Roadster was being launched into space, right? Mm-hmm. And Florian was, of course, hands-on with his business, also trying to make that shift to sustainable energy happening here in the Netherlands with Mr. Green. And Elon was not only sort of encouraged by incentives by the government, but he was also poster boy of the left because of this whole climate thing. So he he then
people didn't care, and now all of a
whatever he
sudden they
did,
care.
people loved Elon. So at that point, that whole apparatus sort of benefited, I think, Tesla's growth, because a lot of people that were buying Teslas in the first hour, so to say, the first, let's say, 10,000 Teslas, were very conscious, like environmentally conscious people that want to change the world with the environment, right?
California lefty.
California lefties, and it's a good thing, right? Because I support
Definitely,
that. I support that mission like full-heartedly. So back then I was already following Elon, and he already was doing all these kind of wild things as well, until they were suddenly not friends anymore because of the union parties. They sort of excluded Elon from sort of the stage. Not mentioning Tesla on the EV summit.
Yeah, biggest mistake of Joe Biden.
Because the Biden administration was very much influenced by working unions. So that was when the whole thing started to shift, and also during COVID, Elon was not in line with sort of the narrative, right? So one of the governors of California said, "Elon, go fuck yourself," and Elon just replied like, "Thanks, noted." A year later, he moved away to Texas. So suddenly, poster boy Elon did not comply anymore with sort of the rule of the party, and then he got ostracized, and that is now hitting him very hard. I think.
Yeah, that's exactly when the
No,
law.
but he has never been a poster boy.
No,
Well, he
from
has
my
been
point of view, he was
Time Man of the Year and
Wired and all those kind of magazines.
Yeah, but there was always controversy around him.
Yeah, and the sentiment could shift with the blink of an eye.
I mean, this guy is 54 years old right now. He will not grow up.
No,
He will be the child as portrayed here in SNL. I mean, he's a big child, but he's a genius child, and he has a genius mission, 3 missions, actually. But he has been fighting the FUD forever.
Yeah,
I mean, it was already in 2016 that we wrote a piece on LinkedIn about it. He was fighting the FUD. It was like, it was funding secured. There was the moment that the whole Wall Street was actually bashing him. You don't have the funding, insider trading. But it's always the case when you are disrupting something, an institution, it will fight it back and will say it's not true, and you are not right, and you're the villain.
But I do get what Kenny says because at the inauguration, where the infamous Nazi salute also comes from.
It was not a Nazi salute.
Oh yeah, but that's what the whole the media portrays of it. But
the media, they're fighting. The media is fighting Elon.
Definitely,
it was not a Nazi salute, and that was definitely not the intention.
But what he also does, he comes on stage and he does this big roar. All the gamers know that that's a roar from Diablo 3. It's a really
like inside jokes,
well-played game. But the boomers, which are essentially the people behind all the controversy and all the media blaming, they don't understand it. And for them, it's really fucking weird if somebody comes on stage, roar! And then he looks like he's a billionaire psychopath. So you can't really blame the guys, but
trust me, whatever he does, it will be fiercely attacked because he's cutting all those sources.
I'm not saying it is that isn't true. The thing I'm saying is that he's not really helping himself and his image with coming with a chainsaw on the...
If he cares only a little bit more, then there's a lot less of impact.
No, but he also is a gigantic marketeer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody in the whole world knows Elon Musk with his chainsaw.
No doubt. Yeah.
The only thing is nobody knows why he did it. Mm-hmm. But people will learn within the months coming. Doge will explain it. Milei is actually explaining it already in the UN, etc. Why it's coming from Milei, the chainsaw. It's not from Elon.
That's a gift.
It's a gift. So, but
we know. But
we know, but
nobody knows.
That's what I'm saying. So I think he also uses the controversy to put him in a kind of a place, and he doesn't really matter what the other people are thinking because he knows he's on the right side.
I always try to view two things through a certain lens. Like one, it's America, it's USA. So this is the country of fake wrestling, of entertainment, of this is very much a part of the
culture.
Yeah, of the culture of the United States to be very eccentric and to do something like that. It would be the same like if
you think he's not eccentric enough?
Yeah,
he can be more eccentric.
But American people absolutely love that. So, for example, WWF, the fake wrestling.
He doesn't feel very as a fish in water.
Fish in the water.
Fish in the water. Being eccentric or actually behaving like an extrovert.
Yeah. Well, he's very authentic.
Because he's so introvert, he's not really comfortable being on stage and doing this kind of thing.
That's very visible on screen.
I mean, we've been noticing that on the Tesla quarterly earnings. I mean, it was sometimes it was horrible.
Yeah,
it was like
painful to watch.
To watch, and please, and then we also had the discussion in the Tesla community that we were saying, can somebody please help him with writing some script and just plain do it in. Why doesn't he look like Steve Jobs in Apple? I mean, there are so many scripts. It's so easy, but he doesn't matter.
Do you remember when
it's not fundamental for him to think about that kind of stuff. He rather
but then again, like there's a ton of people around him that could help him, especially people within Tesla itself.
Yeah, well, he fired his whole PR department.
Yeah, but do you remember when we were at the Giga Fest, the opening of the Gigafactory? We waited for Elon Musk for like hours in Berlin, and then he got on stage, and it was like listening to an amateur. And I thought, can the music just start? Because I want to drink beer. I cannot listen to the guy anymore. And I was waiting for 4 effing hours, and then it's like
that was a big disappointment.
Yeah, really big disappointment.
But think about the following. Is it working? Yes or no? Who has the most followers on
exactly
on
what we
So
I was looking at it. He accumulates 150,000 followers a day.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Our podcast, for reference, has like 150 viewers each episode. You know, so who am I to?
We are talking in the void.
Yeah,
we're the biggest podcast in the Netherlands. What you talking
we
about?
are.
We should stop our script. Let's just sit in the ice bed and do the podcast.
Maybe we need to do a bit more wild stuff because otherwise we never get traction.
Okay.
Where's the chainsaw?
Okay, show your.
I have a clip to put on screen and need to take this one. It's a 6-minute clip, so you guys have something to watch and listen to. It's a clip from the Joe Rogan Experience, and it's about the fall of the Democratic Party. So I'll make it big screen, put the sound a little bit higher for ourselves. Enjoy.
So if I were to say, like, what's at the heart of the sort of, like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud. That includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid. Entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here. Like basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen, they would turn those people into voters.
Correct.
Which they were trying to do.
They're already turning them. So in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections. A lot of people don't know that. They're trying to fight that, and they're trying to stop that. But they're currently, I think it's like 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at, say, FEMA, like the agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York.
It's true. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Fact.
They're literally, like, when we stopped that payment, we stopped all those monies, because that's obviously an insane way to spend taxpayer money. New York sued the federal government to get the money. So you could just look at their lawsuit. They were sending that money even after President Trump signed an executive order saying it needs to stop. They still press send on $80 million to luxury hotels in New York. Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to
That's
know
fucked
how
up.
much, and I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. So, like, a lot of people have trouble believing this, but the more you look at it, the more you will realize just how much of a problem this is, and how it's not just real. It is an attempt to destroy democracy in America. That's what, in my view, it is what it really is. Like, if you take the sort of 7 swing states, like, often the margin of victory there is like maybe 20,000 votes. If you put 200,000 illegals in there, and they have like a 80% likelihood of voting Dem, and it's only a matter of time before they become citizens, then those swing states will not be swing states in the future. And if they are not swing states, we'll be a permanent one-party state country. Permanent, deep blue socialist state. That's what America will become.
And that was the game plan.
That was the game plan. That is still the game plan.
And so
they almost succeeded. If the machine of which the Kamala puppet was the representation had won, that's what would have happened. The reason I went so hardcore for Trump was because, to me, this was a fork in the road, a very obvious fork in the road. If they had another 4 years, they would legalize enough illegals in the swing states to make the swing states not swing states. They would be blue states. Then they would win the presidential. They'd win the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They would then make district, D.C. into a state, maybe Puerto Rico, get 4 extra senators, pack the Supreme Court. So then you'll have the House, Judiciary, Senate, and presidency, all blue. And then they will keep importing more illegals to cement that outcome. Basically what happened in California.
Yeah, well, let that sink in.
Yeah, that's how it is.
And that nobody really realizes this, and that they're still saying their stuff about that Elon is ruining life for a lot of illegals, and that's baffling to me.
Yeah, and the problem is also that it's not illegals, but also people with a criminal track record that are also deported from their own countries, like Venezuela and whatnot. So that's a weird world that was created over the last, let's say, 10, 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah,
Indeed.
but also on top of this, so which doesn't give get a lot of attention here as well, also from Elon, is that I think the Federal Reserve or the Fed last week or this week, and also a lot of investors, which I follow closely, say that the impact of Elon doing all this kind of stuff, so stop government spending, send back those aliens, will have an impact on GDP, right? So GDP is gross domestic product. It actually means like what are we building in products and services in a country, and it's representative of how much a company or a country grows. So, for example, China has had huge GDP growth in the last 10 years. It became a bigger economic power, etc. So that's why it's an important metric.
How many illegals does China let through?
Yeah, I don't know.
0.
Could be. I don't know.
Yeah, or at least very little.
Yeah, but that's not my point. My point is that these actions that he's doing, so government spending on, the hotel, 30 million, well, those go away, right? So there's less government spending. I know it will reduce the debt, but they expect it to be like relatively flat or minus 1% or whatever this year. Now they expect to be minus 3%. That's why the stock market is down like so much, because there's a lot of uncertainties. Spending will go down. People will therefore earn less money. All those people from the government, they have to find new jobs. Are they there? Those illegal aliens, yes. I have nothing to say about this. I don't know all the facts, and if that's the work that they're doing, which I agree with their point of view, then it's fine. But there is more impact there as well, because all of those people, they are like gardeners. They also do like kinds of stuff. Yeah. Of course, a bunch are sitting in a hotel doing nothing and criminals, etc. But not all.
Are you now trying to say, or like the point that you're making is, even though the work he's doing with Doge is good, but in the short term, it will affect the GDP, and that metric might turn back to bite them in the ass. That's their achievement,
not really,
lowering of the GDP.
Not really biting them in the ass, but I think the short-term impact will be two things. So one, it's going to be very volatile, because there's a lot of uncertainty, etc., and it will bring down the growth of the company. So, yeah, I don't have a particular view on should they maybe spend more time and do it more easy, or is this the way to go? I don't know, but it's gonna hurt.
No, but it's the pain which comes with Doge and with the austerity measures they are taking. I mean, if you want to cut $1 trillion in government spending, that's
you're gonna feel
the economy is going to take.
So let's use the following take. So let's apply this in the way that they applied the email. Like, show me 5 bullet points of what you have done last week, right? So I think also the guys realize it will be impossible to deport so many people. So what do they want to do? They want to deport criminals, which is, I think, a net negative for society, because they don't contribute, but they steal or destroy stuff. So that's one. Second, they can also do that, like, show me you're a hardworking citizen and want to contribute to the country, and there's going to be a vetting process for that. I think that will be an inevitable thing, because the numbers are simply too high. And then you keep the productive people, and the unproductive people who do not respond or contribute will be
I actually I don't fully agree with that, because I think what Elon actually explained on the podcast was with like we just want to get a response, because now, because of the administration being such a mess at the government, and having things in like vaults that are 10 stories down in earth, all being manually done. He said like the first step is actually knowing, is there a living person behind the paycheck we're paying? So I think that's the first step, and then maybe the next step is to get more productive people. But I actually think it's even more basic,
Yeah, it can be.
So it's like having a company of, let's say, 100 millions of people in service, and we actually don't know, like, all right, I'm paying all those persons a month, but are they doing work? Do they exist? Are they alive?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the first question.
This is just one example of what he is actually encountering. Yeah. And in the podcast, he's also telling about other scams which are happening through NGOs and whatever. It's just...
Yeah, but on the one hand, right, so you have people that are illegal in the country. They receive social security or whatever care for their back that hurts or something like that. It will be obvious who those people will be, because they already paid them social security. So then there will be a scenario like, come with a plan or do something, or we stop your payment. So that's the magnet magnetic pull that Elon says, if we shut down sort of that whole magnet, then sort of it's not attractive anymore to come.
Yeah, and compare that with the 5 million Trump gold card.
Yeah,
it's like complete opposite. It's like it's a complete opposite marketing tool. They want to attract
top talent.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of we discussed it prior to this podcast. It's kind of like a crowdfunding of your national debt.
Yeah.
Will there be any people crazy enough to pay $5 million for a US gold
card? It depends on the perks you get.
It's 5K, right? Not 5 million.
5 million.
Oh, 5 million.
Yeah, I think it's a
Trump gold card.
Yeah, I've read a little bit about it, but can you explain in simple words?
Well, it's just like a green card.
But you buy it.
But with the green card, you could get a green card in multiple ways. But one of the ways was just bring some money.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like 250K or something.
Something, yeah.
And together with hiring 3 or 4 people at least, and there were some other conditions as well. And he just raised the bar. He said, if you want to come to America, this is
this is the fee.
The golden age which we're coming, and you can earn your money, and you have to pay 5 million for it, and then you get all these perks with it as well.
And there was some criticism as well, like but the amount of people that could pay up to 5 million are not enough for the proposed gains that Trump actually had in mind with this $5 million gold card.
No, but it's also a statement.
Yeah.
It's everybody understands this now. You know, it's the same kind of meme as a chainsaw. I mean, it's maybe not as
a bold
well explained or actually executed yet, but it's already painting a picture of what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a giant competitor for people for offshore money, because people put their money in offshore accounts because they want to avoid tax. So basically the same thing happens with giant corporations that are keeping money
on the Cayman Islands.
On their books in countries where they don't have to pay tax. So they know if I allocate this money to the United States, for example, there will be a cut of, let's say, I don't know the exact facts here, but 25%, 30%. So in this first administration, Trump said, listen guys, you can get a one-time opportunity to relocate that money to the US. So you will pay only 10% tax on this money. And now suddenly it's the same conditions as those kind of islands or offshore thing for those companies. And I think the same will happen to individuals at that moment in time. So Trump did this to like all the big S&P 500 companies, because they practically all have that. So Oracle, Facebook, who not. And billions and billions poured into the country, like literally like hundreds and hundreds of millions. So there will be all sorts of things going on to sort of start investing in the US again, to get the people to work, because I want to start my own business here, or I want to build my factory here in the US, but can you have like 10,000 workers?
It's just like 5 million. I'm not going to get a gold card. No way. It's too much. But you will Google it, or grok it.
Don't Google it, just grok.
And when they have put it in place, you also see. Oh, you can also get a silver card. You can get a bronze card. You can Oh, you can also get a green card.
Yeah, but it's a way of sparking interest.
It's just showing the world
opportunities. The land of opportunities here. Come here.
Fuck you, America. Yeah. what's his name again? The
Captain America.
No, what's the movie? This African guy, the king.
Eddie Murphy, Coming to America. Yeah.
He's standing on the
on the balcony. Good morning, fuck you, America.
Fuck you, fuck you too.
So I think it's just a very entrepreneurial approach to solving problems. Like this is like really problem solving. Okay,
it's a marketeer.
Yeah, how can we fix our deficit? Let's be creative here, guys. I want in the next hour, I want to have your five best ideas. People start throwing around ideas. JD Vance is
they're trying to solve the issue of the sinking ship.
Yeah.
And it's a sinking ship.
But almost everybody on board, let's say 80%, are entrepreneurs. So they know how it is to do a fundraise. They know how it is to run an efficient organization, etc. So it's not always polite. That's what I agree upon. I rather have somebody like well-spoken, like somebody like JD Vance explaining things like calm and thoroughly. But these are crazy times. We need to cut like insane amount of money, 33-ish trillion.
That's also at the heart of.
And every day we wait with execution. The odds of sinking the ship.
But you have read the book of Trump, The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
What are the 5 things of The Art of the Deal?
It's a long time ago, but if you can.
I think chapter 3 is about showing cards.
Okay. Yeah.
And he explains in that chapter how you have to deal with your cards. Mm-hmm. And that's what he showed in the meeting with Zelensky. He said, you don't have the cards. Mm-hmm. Actually portraying, if you look at, I asked Rock, how can you explain how Trump used the art of the deal in the negotiation with Zelensky? Okay. And Grok gave me the 5 items from the book and explained what he did in that meeting. It's amazing. He just put his money where he.
Okay. I put it here on the screen. I asked Grok. I can put it up on the screen, but I can also read it out loud.
Think big.
We say the first one is think big. 2 is maximize options. 3, know your market. 4, use leverage. So that's the cards, I guess. And 5 is get the word out.
Yeah, promotion.
And if you go down, he explains it even more.
Yeah, and I think this is also something very underestimated. In, let's say, a world of bureaucrats, it's not very common to come with a solution, right? So in any given situation, like when you put 100 people together and you ask like, gents, what's going on here? How are we going to solve it? People are not very much trained being problem solvers. So there's a handful of people doing that. So when you are the first one proposing something, while that normally never happened, then of course a lot of things going to happen. Now suddenly our well-beloved European bureaucrats, prime ministers, are suddenly talking about peace. Yeah, what's the first one doing that? Are they giving Trump credit for this whole peace thing? No, of course not. So because they don't have much options.
It's super hypocritical what's happening right now with European politics.
But everybody sees it, and this is the first time we see this kind of stuff. And okay, not everybody fully understand the context, and I get that. You call it information. How do you call it?
Yeah, information arbitrage or information asymmetry.
Asymmetry. Yeah. So there's a huge, with everything that is now going on X, which is the news, which is the media. There's a huge asymmetry with the rest of the news that also has agendas. So, and that's actually where we can help, right, with our podcast to explain a little bit more of these kind of asymmetries and see where the asymmetries are biggest.
To be honest, I think everything not everything, but a lot, at least in my bubble, on X is like pro Elon, right? So pro Elon, pro Trump, and there's not a lot of. So what I now read is not a lot of let's say backlash against Trump.
We can go to Blue Sky.
No, you just need to follow one person, and that's Senator Elizabeth Warren, and you'll get all the backlash you want.
She's a total joke, so that's the problem. And
Pocahontas.
I read Dutch media as well, but then when I read stuff, it doesn't cut. Not enough wood, there's a lot of...
I've been reading Dutch media, and over the last 6 months before election, Kamala Harris was presented as some sort of goddess that is all for democracy, all for the good cause, and she's the first woman, and all that. So it was not only, okay, we're slightly tilted towards something favorable. Yeah, it was like full-blown, like pushing this candidate, and on the other hand, like demonizing the other candidate. And that's just how that stuff goes. But more and more people are now seeing what we explained.
No, but that's exactly what's happening. We are in an information war.
Yep.
And it's the
good name for a podcast. Oh, Alex Jones already got the one.
Yeah. So it's it's unbelievably difficult to understand what's happening on this kind of scale. I mean, on this political and even with wars, it's unbelievably difficult. Who's right or wrong or whatever.
Yeah, but let's have. We cannot have the full antidote, right? We don't have that. We don't have those answers. We don't have those questions. We don't know those people, right? But what we can do is listen to the content firsthand. Like, okay, are we actually listening to an interview of Elon?
Like what Kenny did with his girlfriend in the car.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like with okay, go follow Ursula von der Leyen on X. And
but you also have to understand that Joe Rogan is also right wing, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So
well, he's pro Elon and pro Trump, right?
Well, they always say like the left also wants a Joe Rogan to have a voice, but Joe Rogan was always a lifelong Democrat. So they also lost Joe. He went away from California.
Yeah, but he was a right-leaning Democrat.
We don't understand fully yet, and there's information and symmetry about that. What happened in the United States the last 6 to 9 months?
Yeah.
Is that a lot of Democrats actually
moved
away from the Democrats?
Yeah, 100%.
They went crazy.
Tulsi Gabbard is the biggest proponent of that.
Yeah, Kennedy, like Kennedy, the Kennedy family is like a Democrat institution.
Don't forget Elon. He always voted. He always voted them.
So they lost all the best people. And that's the reality. And the longer they deny this, the longer they will not be meaningful.
Yeah. And that's what Elon was talking about, is that they were actually doing stuff which are not really good for democracy.
Yeah.
So they are actually killing democracy.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy stuff that we're talking about in Europe, that we are thinking that Elon and Trump are killing democracy.
Yeah.
It's completely the other way around. And that's something.
Bureaucracy.
They're killing bureaucracy, exactly.
Anyways, do we have something on Tesla this week, or are we continuing with the Doge podcast? Well, to be honest, like, and I said it in the app with us as well. I know it's like really relevant and this is an important topic, etc. But at heart, I like businesses and not so much politics.
I completely agree with you, and that's what I dislike nowadays, is that the discourse is fully on politics.
Guys, in 90 days. Robotaxi will be launched.
Yeah.
So
I already forgot about it.
I got some Tesla news lined up.
Kees, to start, what's happening in Europe?
A lot, but you mean FSD related, legislation-wise? Well,
boring.
No.
This is
shut your mouth, man. Can we put on?
Can we mute him? Cancel for
you talking about FSD in Europe is the reason why all these ladies are tuning into this podcast. You know, so
definitely.
I will grab your moment right.
There's two magic words to get a woman wet. That's legislation and full self-driving.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe SEO. You can talk about SEO in the meantime.
Yeah, definitely.
Casey.
Yeah. But no, this...
We let him lose too much.
Yeah, definitely.
He went away for a week.
Casey, tell me about the full self-driving legislation. I'm so pumped up.
The maximum lateral cheese.
These guys, man.
No, okay.
Let's go back to Doge.
All joking aside, okay, March can be a big month for FSD, or at least the legislation of FSD. Mm-hmm. So it's not only Europe, it's the UNECE, so that's the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, and that's a subsidiary body of the World Forum for Harmonization of Vehicle Regulations.
Okay, so I'm getting asleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come to the point.
Well, this week, from today till the March 7th, they will be voting on some important topics. So I distilled the most important stuff from it and put it in my post on X yesterday. So this is what the UNECE came with, like an announcement. Yeah. And I posted about it 9 months ago in September, that FSD supervised might be coming to Europe in 2025. And also the end of the NAG, the steering wheel NAG, might be worldwide. At this session, they voted against the withholding of hands-on requests and also system-initiated maneuvers or system-initiated lane changes. Right now, they are voting on it again. So what's going to be presented? the working party will be presented an update on automated driving systems. So that's FSD unsupervised we're talking about here. So that's full level 5 autonomy. This is the first time we are going to see a draft proposal for a global regulation for autonomous vehicles. So that's a big one. I'm really curious what that document will entail and what it will actually have inside of it. From draft proposal to becoming an actual legislation, that might take 3 years. So don't become
3 years?
Yeah, because the DCAS, I'll talk about it later on, they did the first draft proposal in 2021 and it's still not there. So that's actually here in number 3.
Kees, do you know I've worked at a corporate firm in my past years? Feels a little bit like the same.
Yeah, but this is worse. This is worse. But this is the most important part that will get FSD beta in Europe or UNECE contracting parties or member states. These are the Series 1 amendments, which will discuss the hands-on request. So that's the steering wheel nag that you need to touch the steering wheel to stay awake. But also the system-initiated lane change. And that lies, in my opinion, at the heart of FSD. That's what makes FSD so freaking cool. Because you can just sit back, supervise the hell out of it, and that car will get you from A to B with just one click of the button. A couple months ago, the UK actually went full-on lawfare against this proposal. So that's why I was a little bit pissed at that point in time. So it might... This week might be big. Besides this, there is also a workshop that's going to be hosted in the Netherlands. There is a location of the Joint Research Council, the JRC, and they're going to have a workshop on autonomous driving systems. So I have more hopes for autonomous driving systems actually than for the introduction of FSD supervised on the short term. But this month will be packed with tons of updates.
One question. Have you ever typed in FSD legislation in Pornhub? What comes up? Or
Yeah. Well, the first video is BBC. Okay, thanks for the.
in simple terms, because I'm still I don't know what's happening, to be honest. But when can we have a FSD in Europe? So we have China release. We can talk a bit about it. But yeah, what's going to happen?
If the vote in this week is positive, that means 6 months from that point, we can see the first entry into force, and then member states have 2 years to adapt their national legislation to the international framework laid out. But in essence, that would be a year from now if they vote positive on the system-initiated maneuvers.
So the quickest way is 1.5 years to have FSD.
Yeah, the 12 months. Let's say 12 months, yeah. And that's
FSD. This is excluding Norway and Switzerland.
Yeah, okay. I know they have their own process, right?
When Elon and the Tesla AI team was talking about their milestones and having FSD on the road in Europe, that's what I'm looking at. I think there's a loophole.
Yeah, you're partially right, because in order for this is the legislation that talks about the behavior, and then you have type approval on the other end as well. And type approval is like the RDW, that's the Dutch equivalent of the DMV in the United States and the NHTSA. They have a lot of power in the UNECE. So the RDW also made sure that Cybertruck is not available here. And they are also one of the main reasons why FSD is not still here. But two things run separate here. So we have FSD supervised and FSD unsupervised. We're very close to FSD unsupervised already in June in Austin. And we're seeing FSD supervised in China. We're seeing FSD supervised in Mexico. So we're 5 or 6 different countries right now have FSD supervised on the roads.
Maybe Australia.
Exactly, yeah, maybe, but there's been a redaction on that post. So the terminology also have been put back to capabilities again. But the draft proposal of the ADS legislation, that's way more important because they can start fresh. And that's the first time we're going to see how legislators from all over the world designed this global regulation for FSD unsupervised. That's way more important than like the transition period. It's cool to have FSD supervised, don't get me wrong, because I would love to drive FSD supervised every day, but it doesn't mean shit because it's the design intent and the end goal that you were talking about for the United States government. The end goal is unsupervised. So that's the biggest thing in my opinion. And in a year from now, the original deliverable was to have this in place. So that might be quicker. And I did a post on X as well.
Can you explain in plain English why unsupervised could be here earlier than FSD supervised in regular terms?
Yeah, because FSD unsupervised, the driver is still the responsible. Yeah. And they have this concept of over-reliance and that all of a sudden we're going to forget how to drive if we rely too much on this system. And the technical requirements and the liability aspect of it is completely different when you're talking about a fully autonomous system. So a steering wheel is not a requirement, but in a level 2 system, a steering wheel is a requirement. And then you would need to have fallback systems in place. What if the person behind the steering wheel doesn't grab hold of the steering wheel again? What's the minimal risk maneuver within this amount of seconds with that amount of lateral G-forces? And then your mind explodes.
So basically the expectation from you is that we will go to unsupervised quicker.
Exactly, yeah. So I did a post, I reposted Holmar's post.
Yeah, you can also just explain, like, what do you think are the timelines there then?
I think optimistically, we might see unsupervised in 2027 already.
Yeah. Already?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite soon.
Yeah, Kees.
It's 2 years.
Do you think that's soon?
But for FSD unsupervised, not FSD beta.
Yeah, I hear you. So it's in 3 months in...
unsupervised is starting in the US as of 90
June?
days.
Yeah.
Then at the end of this year,
China will follow.
Beginning of 26, we will have it in multiple states, hopefully 3, 4. Then at the end of 26, we will see it throughout the whole US, maybe Canada, maybe Mexico. Then China, and then also Europe. Yeah. So it's quite fast.
Yeah.
Question. So first of all, amazing work that you digging into this stuff. Do we have any?
You get paid for it, yeah.
Yeah, that's but job well done.
Yeah.
Now, what did you get done last week, Kees? Now we know.
Okay, but what I'm very curious of is FSD. You would say yes, but we don't know how much. Like a driver for sales in US, like can we have an uptick in sales for the people that are buying full self-driving? Because in Europe we don't have it, so it's just electric cars, and Tesla is still in the lead of the best electric car. But there are many other competitors in Europe as well with electric cars. So, and none of them got full self-driving. So there will be a technological leap where people can sign up for, right? So. Oh.
Yeah, I think with the launch of FSD in China, we will see the numbers coming from China.
Must be.
And I think those numbers will be much higher than the US numbers.
Yeah, if they're not limited for production. If they're not limited for production with the Model Y unit per scale.
No, but I mean, I thought your question or your remark was, is FSD going to help sell more cars?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think...
by how much?
And by how much? Yeah. So one, I think it will help sales, but especially in China.
Yeah, agree.
And by how much? I don't know. But
what are the FSD uptake rates from Mr. Green?
And third, well, at Mr. Green, 35%.
Okay.
So I think you can apply 35% to China as well.
Yeah.
But that's only FSD uptake of an already sold car. But your question was how many cars will be sold additional because of FSD. Nobody knows.
And I think that will only come when it's already there. So the promise of FSD was...
It is already there, what do you mean?
Yeah, but the promise of FSD has been a major sales driver, especially in 2020, 2021, because that's when the bandwagon started rolling in autonomy terms. All the OEMs jumped on that bandwagon.
Can you enlighten us?
No, nobody's believing Elon anymore.
No, exactly. So first,
Nobody.
the proof needs to be in the pudding.
Yeah.
And when it's unsupervised or out there, like in all other parts of the world as well, then it might serve, I think, in my opinion.
But I do think, and that's what I also already wanted to mention when you were talking about the whole regulation part, is it's not that relevant anymore. It's all balls, all in on unsupervised.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you get some extra car sales in.
No, I agree, but still like how much is the public awareness of this stuff?
It's still very low.
Yeah.
Very low.
So I wouldn't bet on it that you get more sales out of because of FSD is in China.
That's the whole arbitrage you have with buying Tesla stock
Or
nowadays.
did you know that Tesla cars drive themselves?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
God knows.
Yeah. Okay. So we have
Here.
we tested it on one person.
That's true.
And he just saw like 5 Teslas in front of the door. So, but I think if there is a country where the pickup is high, I would expect China.
Yes.
Yeah. And the price can come down like drastically, right? So maybe to $6,100 a month, something like that. But I get your point.
But other really good Tesla news is...
No boring stuff, please.
No, this is not
but,
boring at all.
one more thing, sorry.
Okay.
To really wrap it up. And that's why I'm so happy that in 90 days unsupervised is actually going to launch. It's going to show the world that the system is actually functioning.
Yeah.
It will bring out data that it's going to be safer. And then this whole discussion about regulation, I mean, the data will show every mayor in every city, this is a system which can transfer people within our city at a much lower cost.
No.
And it's much safer. So that every mayor will be knocking on the door.
Exactly.
I want this system.
And it can replace public transport all by itself.
Tesla needs to get an incentive for governments, for mayors, etc., for them to bring Tesla to their cities. And I think the whole business model around the launch of will show that everybody's going to benefit from it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the whole ecosystem that they're going to put in place, there's going to be so much entrepreneurship around it that it's going to be like a magnet for entrepreneurs and bringing costs down and actually bringing in more income.
Yeah, definitely. So the ROI of a Robotaxi will be insane.
Yeah, I still think it's 150 days away at least. I think they will postpone, but
it might be because Elon time is still, even though it has become less, there's still a thing like Elon time.
Well, the one thing that really gets me excited about it is that Frans and Lars, who have been on several podcasts in the last couple of weeks, have been reiterating it. So, and I know from the book from Elon where I think he already said in 2021, 2022, let's go all in on Robotaxi, which they didn't because the management team wasn't supporting that. They are now, so that's I think the most positive part.
Yeah, and this was a really positive news in my opinion because all the talk is now constantly about Austin, Texas, and California is not necessarily filled with people who share the same mindset and like Elon right now. But Tesla has applied for a transportation permit in California. So this, in my eyes, is pretty big news. Because applying for a transportation permit means that you have full confidence in your capabilities, and also that you own up to the liability aspect of not having a driver in the car and still being able to have a permit to transport citizens. So this was, you can check out the article on Bloomberg by yourself, but this was a great find by Tesla Boomer Mama. In my opinion, this is really big news, and a lot of stuff is...
This news also accompanied by Elon saying that this will be free for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, no, not soon after this, exactly. But yesterday I had this feeling. I got a lot of questions also on X from people. Are you thinking if FSD is coming? And a lot of stuff is culminating into the end goal right now, because as I just said, we have in 6 countries already FSD publicly on the streets. We have the legislators aligning again. We have this permit for transportation. We will have the FSD Robotaxis in June. So all the events are pointing towards the same end goal. So this time around, I'm feeling more positive than ever about FSD. So I woke up pretty energized today.
Yeah. Shall we wrap it up with this?
Yeah, definitely. Follow me to stay up to date about legislation.
Yeah.
And
thanks a lot. Follow.
I'll keep you guys posted. And maybe there's one thing to wrap it up, Florian, about the February recap of our friend on X, John FSD Bull.
Oh, let's not do that.
No, it's too long? Okay. Yeah, he did a recap of everything that took place in February. But we have a couple things still left on the agenda. We have a couple topics from you about Ukraine, Doge 4D chess, and Jeffrey Sachs.
I think we managed most of that in sort of different contexts.
Then I think we can wrap it up. And if none of you has something to add still.
Yeah, there is one important thing. So
okay.
I think Damian mentioned that we have 150 listeners. I think it's somewhere between 500 and 1,000 on average. And we have about 100 people who subscribe to us. So if you listen to this podcast and you want to keep track of Kees, Damian and Mr. Weave here to the right of me, then subscribe, I would say.
Yeah, and thanks for all the people who subscribed already. Early adopters.
Bart, are you subscribed?
To all of you.
Are you subscribed? Okay, very good.
Maybe we should give them a gift if they subscribe.
Yeah, fine. What do you want to give?
I have an idea.
Okay.
There are 5,000 Model 3s, right? So.
A Trump gold card?
The Trump gold card. Right.
No. I was thinking of your financial model.
Yeah, sure.
Early access.
We've been talking about it, but it should be nice to give them like a...
Comment if you want Kenny's financial model.
I will send it to you.
Or a bumper sticker that says, I bought this Tesla before Elon was crazy.
or a bumper sticker that we're going to make.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's going to be way cooler.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All balls on Kees.
All balls to the wall. Big balls.
All right. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Until next week.
Harry Kees.